Story 1. Our relationship turned long distance. We spent too long, too far apart. In the end, we basically gave up. We both found partners who were more local and moved on. Story 2. I was 22 years old, and she was 31 with a 12-year-old son. I was not ready to be a father. Her ex-husband told me to hurry up and marry her, then adopt their child so he wouldn't have to keep paying. Story 3. She wanted children and I did not. No amount of love was going to change the different paths we expected to take in life, and I most certainly wasn't willing to compromise because in my current state I am not ready to be a father and probably never will be. I couldn't imagine bringing a child into the world that had the possibility of being unloved or not paid attention to. So we made the hard choice. She is married with children now and seems pretty happy, and I don't have children and that makes me happy, so I guess it worked out. I do still occasionally miss her though. It's tough to move on without anything like resentment driving you forward. Story 4. We were both very much in love. Very compatible and both were attracted to each other. Basically, she gave me an ultimatum and told me she wanted me to join her religion so that she could have the temple marriage. I'm not religious and respected her views, but this meant a lot to her. So, I just broke up with her because there was no point in dragging things out since I knew I wasn't going to join the Mormon church. The breakup was very tough on both of us. Oh well, life goes on. Story 5. Yes, we failed to communicate well, and the resentment grew between us because of it. We were both through by the end. 2 months later, we can see where we went wrong, but we can also see that it would go right back to where it was if we got back together now. Story 6. Yeah. I am 24 and I met the love of my life exactly 4 years ago. She was an au pair here in the States in Colorado. She is Swedish. We dated for 1.5 years and it was amazing, and then she had to go back. We did long distance and eventually I applied for a residence permit to Sweden. She hadn't gone to college yet and couldn't get a good enough job for the migration agency to feel comfortable with me moving to her because she would have to take care of me until I got over the language barrier and got my social number to work. We got denied, and after 3 years and 10 months, I decided I couldn't keep doing long distance with no end in sight. Yesterday would have been our 4-year anniversary. It hurts a lot. I was looking to marry her and wanted to spend my life with her, and she wanted the same. She was amazing in every way. We were great, but it just wasn't the right time for us. Now, I guess I just have to let her go and focus on loving myself completely and focusing on my career. There are plenty of women for any of you and us. Don't avoid the pain, fellas. I've run from it before and it only makes life worse. Cry if you need. Reach out if you need. Focus on building yourself as I am trying. There are a lot of things to enjoy in life and people to love. But love yourself first and then you may love again. Story 7. My first girlfriend in high school. We got along well because we were both abused as kids. After she graduated, we split up because we were heading in different directions in life. I still talk to her 17 years later. Story 8. I neglected my mental health issues and former trauma for my entire life. So in the relationship, I used her as a punching bag and didn't take the work seriously when she convinced me to start therapy and fix myself. I drove her away with emotional abuse, lies, manipulation, alcohol and substance abuse, gaslighting, and cheating. Almost 2 years later, not a single day has passed without me thinking of her 9 to 10 times. It will be the single largest regret of my life, as she truly was the right one at the wrong time. She gave me too many chances to fix it, but I was so deep in the struggle I didn't even realize how bad it was. Story 9. Yes, we were young, me at 23 and her at 18, and I was confused, looking for a sign as to what to do with my life and relationships. There was a miscommunication that I took as that sign and broke it off. We moved on with our respective lives. Both had kids and failed marriages. We reconnected as friends 16 years ago. We started seeing each other after another failed marriage and have been married now for 18 months. Best friend, best woman, best partner ever. I regret screwing it up in the first place, but I am glad to be with her for the last phase of our lives. Story 10. She's treating me so well. Mature conversations instead of fights. Laughs at my jokes. Finds my stupidity charming. But I just keep messing up. I think she deserves better. Story 11. Woman I loved? Way too much. Good woman? No. It's been 7 months, and nobody has ever treated me as badly in my life as she has. For some reason, I miss her, the good times, and the kids. It's all manageable, but I still think about what ifs. I've never had to walk away from a relationship with someone I was still in love with. I wish there was another way every day, but she had borderline personality disorder. She was manipulative, abusive physically and emotionally, and was a serial cheater. Took a lot for me to get the courage to walk. I don't let her know that I'm suffering. Story 12. Yes, we broke up because of many additional factors that we couldn't figure out. Couples therapy would have probably solved the issues, but that wasn't an option at that time. I still miss her and still love her. Story 13. Yes, I neglected my mental and physical health. I could see her starting to fall in love with another guy, so I asked the right questions to get her to break up with me. She was with the other guy almost immediately. Story 14. I was an unmitigated idiot for leaving her. It is singularly the only regret I have in life, and I've done some awful things. I miss her every day. The reason doesn't matter anymore. Story 15. Yep. I wanted to get high and do drugs instead. I strung her along after the breakup too. She was this sweet, innocent girl when we got together. By the end, we were both cheating on each other and doing everything we could to hurt one another. I ruined her. I regret it so much. I wish I could have just loved her right. Story 16. I loved her and admired her. A beautiful, strong, and intelligent woman like no other. We were together for 6 years in our early 20s. In the end, I realized I was gay. No, I didn't cheat on her or hide it from her. I really didn't know it or was in denial. I spoke frankly with her before making any moves or decisions, probably one of the most difficult conversations I've ever had. She was hurt and sad. In those days, the idea of alternative relationships, such as a gay man with a straight woman, was not something anyone would contemplate. Long story short, we separated. I went through the excruciating experience of coming to terms with my sexuality at the same time I mourned our breakup. We are great friends now. She's married with 2 kids. I've been partnered for many years. It was the right decision, and it took all I had in me. She acknowledges it took a lot of courage, and truly a lot of love. Story 17. I was in a relationship where I loved her, but I knew at that moment in my life I couldn't be faithful to her and would eventually cheat because I wanted to still go out and meet other women. So, rather than hurt her that way, I broke it off before I did something I'd regret. I wasn't ready for what she wanted and didn't want to waste her time. Story 18. She was a beautiful, great woman who was poor in bed and did not like sex in her 18 to 27 years. It slowly faded out. The last 2 years were sex-free. I tried, but had to end. Story 19. Wrong time of life and distance and family health issues. I still think of her sometimes, and do believe we were both really in love. She had kids already with a support network already around them, and wanted to move them away from the rest of her family to live near me. I couldn't let her do that to them. Story 20. We were too young. Even though we were in our 20s and plenty of people get married and stay together by that point. But, just speaking for myself, I was too immature, for lack of a better word. I do not mean it in a bad way exactly, I just lacked life experience and self-knowledge. Story 21. Yes, I was 17. She wanted to get married, and I wasn't ready. As she walked out of my parents' house crying, I knew I would regret it for the rest of my life. I think about her almost daily, especially since my divorce. Story 22. We were long distance and had started falling out of love. Texting every day and calling regularly cannot make up for only seeing each other 2 days a month. We agreed to end things amicably while we still liked each other, instead of trying to force the relationship and risking an explosive and much more painful breakup. I wish her nothing but the best. Though if she ever moved to my city and reached out, assuming I was single at the time, I would absolutely be willing to go on a second first date. To try again without needing to spend a full workday behind the wheel for 2 days of time together. Story 23. I love her so much. She is perfect for me and she loved me. I was toxic. A black hole, no direction, no prospects, just a failed human. She went away to college, met someone, stayed for a master's, got married, got a job, got divorced. I got my life together. 12 years after the breakup, we got back together. Still in love with each other. Got married. Some things are worth waiting for. Story 24. Sometimes the women you're most painfully attracted to are the ones that are crazy in the head and amazing in bed. She was extremely outgoing, friendly, and attractive. But after she got to know me, things went downhill. Each month I received less respect, less going out of her way to do nice things, less enthusiasm to see me. Yet she still wanted to be with me all the time, and much more rudeness for no reason. The rudeness is what got to me. I can handle snarky comments and even roasting if they're deserved. But she just became so comfortable around me that her true rude self began to shine through. She said things to me all the time that she admitted she would never say to a stranger because they're too rude. I know the word is overused right now, but I work with a therapist who specializes in narcissism. This ex was a complete narcissist. Extremely smiling, charming, friendly, touchy, engaging, and attractive until she won the person over. Then over time, the admiration from that person wasn't enough, so she'd treat that person worse every month and focus on winning other people over. She would get mad at me for not telling her she looked amazing within the first 30 seconds of seeing her. She would send a photo asking for me to tell her she looked pretty every time she got dressed up. Getting her to admit she was wrong was such a headache that I found myself withdrawing from her since I couldn't speak my mind. She was extremely defensive, dismissive, and even belittling. I would internally wince when asking her to clarify or repeat what she said because her response was so aggressive. I've been called smart my whole life, and she was the only one ever to treat me like I was a complete idiot. It's like she treated me like a service that was expected to bolster her self-esteem, have sex with her, and be a warm body to cuddle on when she was bored. Also, too many times per week, she was getting messed up on alcohol and substances. In summary, she was extremely attractive and fun, we connected most days, but she was a legitimate textbook narcissist who treated me badly and was not going to therapy anytime soon. Story 25. Yes, she was perfect, smart, beautiful, kind, and loving. But unfortunately, 2 years prior to meeting her, I had a child with another woman. She and I did not work on many levels except for sex and procreation. The other woman, desperate because she had nowhere to go when she got out of the military, or sensing that I was happy with someone else, or just as an act of chaos, reached out to me, asking for help, asking to be a family again, and just emphasizing how much she thought that now was the time we would work. Now was the time we would raise our child together. Being the fool and wanting to be a dad, I left my girlfriend for my child's mother. And as a reward for my choice and to show that family is the most important thing, we lasted 1.5 years of me paying for her to get an education, buying her a car, and forsaking all others for her before she took off with our kid and never contacted me again. Even her mother doesn't know where she ran off to. I no longer regret my choices. I only pray that the woman I left has a better life than I do. Story 26. There are more reasons you cannot live with someone than reasons you can. I have had numerous relationships with good women and loved them. That does not mean I could live with them long-term or that they could stand to live with me long-term. Story 27. 30 years ago, I was cheated on. It broke me because I loved her so much. I broke it off and tried to move on. 1 year later, I met my wife, fell in love again, and had a son. When my son was about 6 months old, I was standing at an automated teller machine holding my son. When I turned around, she was standing behind me with tears in her eyes. I smiled, said hello, and went to my car. Later that day, she took an overdose and died. I still see the look in her eyes, and it breaks me. Story 28. One broke up with me and wanted to come back. Perhaps I should have taken her back? A nice person, but I couldn't trust someone who left me. Abandonment trauma from childhood. Next was a good person, knew me better than anyone else, but could not reciprocate physical affection for a huge number of reasons. She was so defensive about it that she blamed it on me. The closest she could admit it was to say, "Let's be good roommates to each other." Nope. And that ended. A good woman but a victim of childhood traumas and a toxic mother, leading to intimacy issues. Story 29. Not really a good woman I loved, but I ended a good potential relationship or flirt of 10 days because of massive insecurities, both hers and mine, and also because my mind was still focused on another person. It was silly. We could have worked on issues or something. Shortly after, the other person rejected me for good. I tried to stay friends, but no, it was no use. I messed it up. Story 30. I knew that the next while was going to be rough, and communication could possibly end unexpectedly due to losing the means of communication we had available to us at the time. I felt it would be better to end things than let her think that I just disappeared on her randomly. This was decades before disappearing became a known mainstream thing. Story 31. We were long distance with no exit date. I was also incredibly insecure and not happy with who I was physically, emotionally, and socially. The only option to close the distance being marriage, I didn't think I had the capacity at the time to show up in a healthy way.